Hey there and welcome back to Mass Effect. My name is Pete and today we complete the UNC Listening Post Alpha assignment. However, we are still on Pinnacle Station, and for our efforts in the last two episodes we actually earned a reward. And checking out that reward is what we will begin this episode with, but not before we get a few lines of dialogue from the Pinnacle Station crew.
Shepard, I think you may have actually impressed the old man.
Well, considering what we had to pull off to survive, that was quite impressive, yes.
Maybe he's just going soft.
I doubt that. You're just the best we've ever seen. So, do you need anything else?
Nope, we were just here for that one line of dialogue.
I'll be back another time.
Then go play somewhere else. I have work to do.
Huh. I can't believe you've beaten us all, Shepard.
And by the way, I would have liked if this guy had a slightly more prominent role in the DLC. After all, if you add a Krogan to the mix, things in Mass Effect often go a bit off the rails.
Congratulations, Commander. It's been an honor competing with you.
And now for one last chat with Admiral Ahern.
You need something else?
Because we have a new dialogue option here concerning his opinion regarding the Turians.
Do you have a problem with Turians?
I lost a lot of good friends in the First Contact War, and I wasted a lot of perfectly good bullets getting the Turians to apologize. Now I'm stuck in a station full of them trying to make them better soldiers.
Well, that begs the question, why do you stay?
Why would you accept a position on a Turian facility if you hate them so much?
Hate's a strong word. Despise might be more appropriate, but it doesn't mean we can't learn from each other. Teaching a Turian soldier to improvise on the battlefield is like teaching a Krogan to be pretty, but it can be done. You need someone who understands how both sides fight. Nobody's fought more Turians than I have.
Alright, fair point. That's all we wanted to know.
Thanks for the info.
Carry on.
Okay, and now it's time for us to finally leave Pinnacle Station. We did everything we could here, we grabbed all 3 achievements for the DLC, and we can now safely return to the Normandy. Alright, welcome back to the Normandy, but we won't stay long. Instead, we will immediately activate the galaxy map and use that to travel to our newly acquired apartment. As a reward for beating Ahern's mission, we received his retirement home, so let's check out the place. In the entryway, we can replace our Medigel as well as our grenades for free, which is nice but not all that useful. Much more of interest is the computer terminal here in the back. This message here states that if we're willing to pay the delivery fee, we are able to receive weapon shipments here. And even though those shipments were originally meant for Ahern, since we are now the owners of this apartment, we can use them as well. Now, these weapon shipments work in 3 different tiers. The more you're willing to pay, the better the equipment will be. For our level 50 Shepard, only the Wallace for 220,000 credits per shipment really makes sense. The other weapons won't really be of much use for us at this point. So let's order one shipment and see what we receive. Alright, a level 10 Predator Amturian armor. That is a very nice armor for Garrus. Now, I did a bit of work off screen, and while we return to the Normandy, let me quickly explain why. The shipments that we receive are completely random. That means every time we pay the 220,000 credits, the game chooses one item randomly from a list of high-level items. With 20 items, the list is rather large and it contains a lot of stuff we don't need. However, the price is the same for all items, which means for some items we can actually make a profit. And so here's what I did. I wrote myself a list with all the items I would like to have from that list, and then ordered as many weapon shipments as I possibly could. Then I returned to the Normandy, sold what I didn't need, and kept what was on the list. I repeated that process a few times and was actually able to get most of the items I had on my list. So now let's do one final round of selling.
Looking for supplies?
Well, mister, I believe this is the 6th time I stopped by today. By now, you should know that I'm only looking for a place to sell stuff.
Let's see what you've got.
You bet, Commander.
Alright, and here we are with about 7.9 million credits and a lot of nice equipment that I think I want to show off now. However, first let me quickly make some preparations. So if you're not interested in this small equipment overview, then feel free to skip ahead to the 7.5-minute mark. Otherwise, let's start with Shepard himself. Shepard still has the Spectre Master Gear Assault Rifle, equipped with a level 10 kinetic coil and a level 10 scram rail. And I will actually switch that kinetic coil for frictionless materials later, otherwise the weapon overheats too fast. He also has the Master Gear Sniper Rifle, equipped with roughly the same upgrades. The grenade upgrade is still a high explosive 8, I couldn't find a higher level version yet. The most interesting thing, however, is probably the armor. Currently, Shepard is wearing the Colossus X, however the medium armor version. The heavy version is not available in the shipments, but even the medium version is still one of the best armors in the game. The heavy Predator armor, however, that was available, and that armor is also widely regarded as one of the best in the game. For the moment I chose better damage protection over higher shields, but if you think that is a bad choice, then let me know in the comments below. By the way, while I was equipping, I also sold a bit more stuff, so we now have slightly above 8 million credits. Up next is Liara, who's equipping the Spectre Master Gear pistol, and that is the only weapon she'll use. Her Omni tool is a Savant X, by far the best Omni tool in the game, and so is the Biotic Amp. Both of those are available in the apartment. Her armor remains unchanged. The Mantis 8 is the best light armor we have available right now, but if I happen to run across a Colossus or Predator light armor, I will gladly buy that. With Tali, things look pretty similar: Spectre Master Gear pistol, Savant X Omni tool, and for her we were actually able to get a Colossus X Light Quarian armor, so Tali is already equipped in what is probably the best possible armor for her. Up next is Rex, who unsurprisingly has the Spectre Master Gear shotgun equipped. He also has a Savant X Biotic Amp, and he's wearing the level 10 Berserker armor, one of the best looking armors in the game in my opinion. Still, if we were to find a Colossus for him, I would probably make the change. Much like Shepard, Garrus is using both assault rifles and sniper rifles, and so for both of those he has level 10 Spectre Master Gear. His Omni tool is once again unsurprisingly the Savant X, and his armor is the medium version of the level 10 Predator armor, the armor that we received earlier. Up next is Kaidan, who is once again a pistol user, so Spectre Master Gear here. Then both his Omni tool and his Biotic Amp are once again Savant X, and just like with Liara, I had to stick with the light armor we currently have equipped. So last but not least would be Ashley, but Ashley isn't really that important since we don't bring her with us anyway, so let's skip her and instead make our way right back up to the bridge. We are now taking on what I believe to be the last assignment available on the galaxy map, that is if we don't count the morality assignments. This assignment is one of the longer ones. It will span over 3 different systems and 2 different clusters, and we're starting in the Styx Theta cluster, specifically in the Erebus system.
Commander, we've got an incoming distress signal. Patching through to you.
Mayday! 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 This is Lieutenant Durand, 314th Infantry, Alliance 10th Frontier Division. The listening post has been overrun by unidentified hostile lifeforms. Request immediate extraction.
Alright, that distress call is what we're here for, but before we intervene, let's do a bit of surveying. In this system we can find a Prothean data disk, as well as a platinum deposit, and in true completionist fashion we of course want to grab both of those. Then, however, it is time to land on Nepmos, the planet that we received the distress signal from. For our squad we will go with a nice mix of close-range firepower and biotics, so Kaidan and Rex make the cut, as the ability to hit hard is somewhat important on this planet. Alright, I quickly equipped everyone with anti-organic rounds, as well as with fitting armor upgrades. Now, however, it is time to get going, and we will mark the first location on the map, and we will start things off with a location that is not marked initially. And maybe while we're driving, a few interesting bits of information about the planet itself. Nepmos is a planet with a very thin crust, which explains the small dots of magma that we occasionally see on the ground. It is also the reason for frequent earthquakes on this planet. And despite the occasional magma flow on the surface, the planet itself is actually not that hot. With a surface temperature of just under 70 degrees Celsius, it's not even a level 1 heat hazard. Now, this strange thing on the ground here is actually our first point of interest, and there is a very good reason why it was not marked on the map. Yes, this right here is a Rachni nest, which already allows us to draw some conclusions on what may have caused the distress signal, as in her transmission the Lieutenant spoke of being overrun by unidentified hostile lifeforms. And that does seem like a very fitting description for all the Rachni we have met so far in this playthrough. Now, as always, we could use the Mako to get rid of these, but so far we have done all the killing on foot in this game, and so this group of Rachni here won't be any different. And as a somewhat weaker armored squad member, Kaidan goes down rather quickly here, so it was a good idea to bring another powerhouse in Rex along. But since the fight was pretty manageable even without Kaidan, I did not bring him back to help here. Rex and Shepard can take care of the situation pretty well on their own. Now, despite the Rachni nest taken care of, we still haven't found the actual outpost, so we should keep looking. So let's mark what is named as an anomaly on the map and see if we can't find any more information there. Alright, we discovered what looks like a small mining camp, however nobody's here. That also means that nobody will likely take offense to us rummaging around, so let's see if we can't find anything of value. In the first living container here we can get our hands on a technician kit, while the second one only has some med gel for us. Outside we can also have a look at what the people here were possibly mining at, and the text here reveals a bit more. It looks like they accidentally hit some Rachni tunnels while mining, which might have resulted in a Rachni attack. We can however only work on assumptions until we meet someone who's still alive, so we should probably head towards the overrun outpost soon. One more thing before we do that though, there is a mineral deposit close by, and while we're here we might as well survey that. And now, after getting our hands on some uranium, we can hop back into the Mako. We can then set another unmarked point on the map as our next destination and get moving again. By the way, one question that might come up at this point is why people are mining here in the first place. After all, magma outbursts and earthquakes are pretty frequent, so the planet does not exactly seem to be a safe place for mining operations. At the same time though, it leaves you wondering how the Rachni survived here, as I imagine that living underground is also not perfectly suitable for these conditions. On our way to the outpost, we have now reached another mineral deposit, and this time it's palladium we can survey. And with the survey complete, I think it's now about time we finally make our way towards the outpost. After all, Shepard is a Spectre and not an intergalactic mineral collector. As we arrive, we already see a number of red dots on the map, so it seems like we have timed things perfectly and run straight into another Rachni ambush. As always, we will fight this battle on foot, so let's park the Mako right next to the generator here, and that will also be useful in a moment. Now, as you can see here, we do have some support, or they have some, depending on how you want to look at it. Anyway, there are 3 other soldiers holding position against the Rachni here. This first wave here is still pretty manageable. I think it's about the same size as the nest we fought earlier, only that this time the Rachni come from multiple angles. However, we also have double the firepower. Just like before, it's not a huge problem if Kaidan or some other weaker squad members go down here. While biotic attacks can be used in this fight, the battlefield is pretty wide open, and so most of the Rachni will get killed before they get close. And with this first wave dispatched off, I think it's about time we finally ask what's going on here.
I think we're good, Commander.
First Lieutenant Durand, sir. 3rd Brigade, 14th Infantry Regiment, and I am damn glad to see you.
Well, you asked for help, and here we are.
We heard you needed some backup.
Actually, we need to get the hell out of here. But I guess your ship couldn't carry us all. They dropped us here a few months back. We get supplies every couple weeks. We didn't see anything local that was more dangerous than lichen. Yesterday, these animals started coming out of the ground. No idea where they're from. This is what's left out of 90 men. I'm the ranking officer.
And what was the initial reason for your presence with 90 men in this rather hostile environment?
Why are you out here in the first place?
There's been a lot of pirate activity in this cluster. We set up a chain of listening posts in the local systems, in case they have a staging base.
And regarding your Rachni problem, have you considered bringing bigger guns?
We do have a ship in orbit, we could bombard them.
Wouldn't do much good. They're moving around deep underground. The only time they come near the surface, and they're right on our position. You bombard them, you take us out too.
Well, we can't have that now, can we? What we can do, however, is at least tell them what they're up against.
They're not animals, they're a sentient species. You study history? They're called Rachni.
Never heard of them. Can't say I care. What we just fought was a probe. Our seismic sensors are picking up a crapload more on their way up from underground. We've got 5 minutes, tops. We might be able to hold them off if we were at peak, but you can see the fighting's busted this place up.
Well, don't worry, we won't go anywhere.
Do what you can to secure your position. We'll see if we can get some of your defenses operational.
Aye, aye, Commander. You heard the man. Everybody pool magazines and grenades. Take a leak and a drink while you can. And if anyone wants a smoke, it's as good a time as any.
Right, as you can see there is a timer ticking in the lower right corner. This is the time until the next wave of attackers hits, so we should prepare. And one thing we can do in that regard is hook up the Mako to the generator. This will make the Mako unusable for the duration of the fight, but it will allow us to power the turrets in the area. And since we don't plan on using the Mako anyway, that is an easy choice to make. Now, since the Rachni are taking their time, we can also quickly loot the place. In the container to the right of the generator we find a medical and an upgrade kit, both not really containing anything we desperately need, but we can still use whatever we find to replenish our finances. In the container on the other side there is another medical kit, and you might actually consider holding off of these until the fight is over. You may or may not need to use the occasional Medigel. Now all we have to do is wait until the clock strikes 0, and then the fight will begin once more. This second wave is definitely considerably stronger than the first one. Still, stronger mainly refers to strength and numbers here. Our enemies will be the same Rachni soldiers as before, and they will come from the same locations, so still pretty far away, which should most of the time allow us to kill them before they get close. And keeping them away should be a priority in this fight, because, just as a quick reminder, the Rachni are pretty strong in melee combat. Once they get too close, they also activate some sort of a charging ability, and that is not entirely different from the one that Krogan or Geth destroyers have, so killing them before they get in range to activate that is generally a good idea. It has to be noted though that the Rachni are not only formidable close-range opponents, their longer-range attacks, the acid spits, are also pretty dangerous, as the acid spits completely bypass any shields you have and the toxic damage directly affects your health bar. That also makes them interesting opponents even when you're in the Mako, because even inside of the Mako the same rules apply. The acid spit works just like the one from a Thresher Maw, and also for the Mako it completely bypasses any shields, and instead it does direct hull damage. For all those reasons, you might consider holding off of this assignment until you are at a pretty high level, and to be honest, that is probably a pretty good idea. Because, as you can see in the lower right corner, the fight isn't over yet. Yes, there is actually one more wave to come, and that one will contain even more Rachni than the second one, so if you already had troubles with that, this next one might be a problem. Now, since we can't do anything else but wait, I simply fast forwarded here. After all, we have already looted the place and the turrets are also still running. Those turrets, by the way, provide a valuable service here. A direct hit from one of the turrets can actually kill one of the Rachni in this fight, and all in all, for this fight, even if you normally fight inside of the Mako, I would recommend stepping out for this one. The first reason is, of course, that by using the Mako as a power source, you add 2 turrets to your side. Like I said, those can have a considerable impact on your enemies, and also, just simply from a numbers perspective, it's 2 more guns on your side. Additionally, fighting outside of the Mako gives you the advantage of being able to use biotic attacks anytime you want. Now, I have to admit I don't really make use of this advantage in this fight, but that is also because we are a maxed out level 50 squad with probably the best equipment in the game. If you happen to tackle this assignment a bit earlier, the occasional lift throw or singularity here might make this fight a lot easier. Now, there is one major downside to using biotics in this fight, and that is the rather widespread positioning of our enemies. That is especially problematic if we consider biotic abilities like lift or singularity, which are of course best used on groups of enemies. Those groups will likely never form on this battlefield unless you allow your enemies to come close, but that would be a pretty risky approach. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use those abilities to immobilize single enemies, just keep in mind that it is likely not the most effective way of using those abilities. Another strategy that might actually work well here is bringing a high-caliber sniper rifle with you, and preferably an additional one on a squad member like Garrus, and equip both of those with sledgehammer or even high explosive ammo, which should put enough force behind your shots to knock enemies down. The knockdown effect of course also comes into play with Rack's shotgun, but with a sniper rifle it can happen over a much longer distance. One point of advice though, without spoiling anything, for the second half of this assignment Garrus is really not that suited, but we'll get into that later. Now at this point the fight has been going on for a good 2 minutes now, and there is actually still a bit more to come. However, if you have survived up until this point, you will likely also make the rest. And once again, Kaidan has gone down, but like I said earlier, for this part of the assignment we don't really need to rely on him anyway. He will play a more important role in the second half though, and also, as always, he's with us to open any locked containers. But if you were to go with Garrus, for example, who can also take care of all the unlocking, then I would strongly recommend either Liara or Rex as your second squad member. Now, it seems like we have actually made it. The Ragnar wave has stopped, we have survived, and much more importantly, the people we tried to protect did as well. So with things calming down, let's have another conversation.
Holy hell, sir. Talk about a near-run thing. You alright?
Well, we are, but are you?
Never mind me. Are you alright?
Still on my feet. But we've been fighting for almost 26 hours straight. None of us will be standing for long. There's one other thing I should mention. One of our other listening posts went offline 3 days ago. I don't know if it's coincidence, a pirate raid, or what, but if you want to check in on them...
Yeah, no problem, we're always here to help.
We'll check on them. I don't know why there are Rachni loose out here, but I intend to find out.
Ma'am, we're getting a signal from one of the ground scan UAVs. A big hollow space about 500 meters under the surface.
Right, that must be it. That must be where they're coming from. My people aren't in any condition for a clearing operation, though.
Well, we can all see where this is going. We will of course take care of it.
Just point us in the right direction.
You don't have to do that, Commander. We've bled them. We can probably hold until a bigger ship arrives to get us off-world. If you want to take a throw at it, we'll give you the coordinates. But it's your call. You saved our asses, Commander. Thanks.
Alright, and with that we have the first part of the Listening Post Alpha assignment taken care of. The second half will take place in the aforementioned underground space, but I think that is something we can take care of in the next episode. For now, we can disconnect the Mako from the generator, then mark the Ragnar-infested mine on the map, get moving again, and while we're traveling, make the cut. Next time we will then take care of the remaining Ragnar here on this planet, and we can also see about that other outpost you mentioned. Until then, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.